The Billionaire's secret law behind history's most perfect power moves. The secret that separated masters from amateurs. The greatest art heist in history didn't happen in a museum. It happened in the mind of whoever planned it. While everyone focuses on the action, the drama, the spectacular escape, true masters know the real power was in the months of preparation nobody saw. Today, you're about to discover why Law 29 of the 48 Laws of Power, plan all the way to the end, is the difference between those who dominate the game and those who get played by it. Jeff Bezos didn't build the world's largest retail empire by winging it. When Amazon was just selling books from his garage, Bezos was already planning for cloud computing, space travel, and media domination. While his competitors were trying to compete with his bookstore, he was thinking 20 moves ahead. Amazon didn't grow by luck, it grew because Bezos applied Law 29 religiously. Every business decision, every expansion, every seemingly random venture was part of a master plan most people couldn't even comprehend. Modern society has programmed us for instant gratification. We want results yesterday, success next month, immediate victories. But true masters of power operate in a completely different time dimension. They think in decades when you think in days. While you're planning your next move, they've already calculated their next 100. Think about the greatest art heist you've ever heard of. The Gardner Museum robbery in Boston, where 13 works worth over $500 million simply vanished into thin air. The thieves didn't walk in there on impulse. They studied every guard, every camera, every security protocol for months. They turned chaos into a perfectly orchestrated symphony. The heist lasted 81 minutes. The planning took months. That's the difference between those who have power and those who just fantasize about it. The amateur sees an opportunity and acts on impulse. The master sees the same opportunity and asks, how can I use this for something bigger? He doesn't want to just win one battle, he wants to dominate the entire war. Law 29 isn't about being obsessive. It's about being lethal. When you plan all the way to the end, you leave no room for chance to interfere with your destiny. You become a force of nature that others can't even understand, let alone fight. Your actions seem improvised to outsiders, but they're actually the result of mental engineering so sophisticated it looks like magic. Planning gives you something money can't buy: absolute control over the variables. While others pray everything works out, you've already calculated every possible scenario and have an answer for each one. You don't wait for luck, you create it. The most dangerous person in any room isn't the strongest or the loudest. It's the one who's already seen the end of the movie while everyone else is still watching the opening credits. That person has something the rest don't: the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing exactly how the story ends. But here's where most people screw up. They think planning means predicting everything perfectly. Wrong. Master-level planning means creating systems so robust they turn even your failures into stepping stones. You don't plan to avoid problems, you plan to weaponize them. Brutal challenge. Over the next 48 hours, choose one goal you've been putting off and plan every detail until final execution. Not just the what to do, but the when, how, where, and especially what could go wrong. Document everything. At the end, you'll feel a sense of power you've never experienced before. This is how masters live every single day. Drop a comment with the word planned when you complete this. I want to know how many actually have the discipline of a master. The mind that sees the invisible. There's a brutal difference between those who react to the world and those who control it. The first lives putting out fires. The second doesn't even let the fire start. While most people are busy trying to predict what's going to happen tomorrow, true masters have already shaped what's going to happen next year. And their secret weapon isn't fortune telling, it's a specific type of intelligence that transforms uncertainty into absolute advantage. Walt Disney didn't just create cartoons. He engineered emotions on an industrial scale. While his competitors were making better animations, Disney was 3 steps ahead, imagining how families would experience entertainment 50 years in the future. Disneyland wasn't just an amusement park, it was a psychological experiment in human happiness that's still running today. Disney wasn't lucky, he was operating in the future while everyone else lived in the present. Law 29 transforms you into an architect of time. You don't just plan what you're going to do, you design how others will react to what you've done. It's like playing five-dimensional chess while your opponent is still learning the rules of the regular game. Every move you make generates at least 3 possibilities in your adversary's mind, and you already have an answer for each one. Think about the great masters of strategy throughout history. They didn't win because they were stronger, they won because they could see patterns where others saw chaos. They identified opportunities where others saw problems. They found exits where others saw dead ends. This isn't a talent you're born with, it's a muscle you develop. The world is full of talented people who die in mediocrity because they confuse action with progress. They work 12 hours a day but don't move forward because they're too busy running to stop and think about where they want to go. The master does the opposite. He spends 80% of his time planning and only 20% executing. And that 20% is worth more than any amateur's 100%. Prediction is a skill that develops like any muscle. The more you exercise your ability to anticipate scenarios, the more powerful it becomes. You start seeing patterns where others see randomness. You identify opportunities where others see obstacles. You create solutions where others see impossibilities. But here's the trap. Prediction without action is just anxiety disguised as strategy. The real power lies in combining the ability to see the future with the courage to shape it. That's the difference between being a prophet and being a god of your own destiny. Most people live reacting to events like leaves blown by the wind. The master of Law 29 is the wind itself. He doesn't move with circumstances, he creates them. Here's what separates the masters from everyone else. They understand that the future isn't something that happens to you, it's something you construct, brick by brick, decision by decision, plan by plan. Every day you're not planning is a day someone else is planning for you. Mind-crushing exercise. Take one complex situation in your life right now, could be professional, personal, anything. Now list 10 things that could go wrong and 10 hidden opportunities nobody else is seeing. For each item, create a specific strategy. You'll discover you have way more control than you imagine. Comment, I see everything. If you can complete this exercise, this is your first step toward developing master-level vision. The most dangerous moment in the game. Victory is the most addictive drug in the world, and like any drug, it can kill you. There's a specific moment in the power game where most people make the fatal mistake. They confuse winning a battle with dominating the war. And it's exactly at this moment that true masters separate themselves from eternal amateurs. Because knowing when to stop is more powerful than knowing when to start. Howard Hughes had everything. Aviation empire, movie studios, technological innovations that changed the world. He was the richest man in America, a genius inventor, a Hollywood mogul. He had won the game, but he didn't know when to stop playing. He kept pushing, kept expanding, kept chasing the next victory until paranoia consumed him and he became a prisoner of his own success. The mistake wasn't in his businesses, it was in his strategy. He forgot Law 29. Planning to the end includes planning your exit. The arrogance of victory is a silent killer. When you're winning, your brain releases dopamine, you feel invincible, and the last thing you want to do is think about negative scenarios. But that's exactly where masters show their true nature. They celebrate victories in private and plan defeats in public. They know that every triumph is just a stage in a bigger plan, not the final destination. Michael Jordan understood this perfectly. He didn't just plan to win championships, he planned when to retire at his peak twice. Each comeback was calculated not just for immediate success, but for legacy preservation. Jordan thought in decades when his contemporaries thought in seasons. That's why he's still the gold standard 30 years later. Law 29 teaches you that strategic retreat isn't defeat, it's mastery. Sometimes the most powerful move is not to play. Sometimes the most brutal strategy is to appear like you're losing when you're actually preparing the definitive blow. Amateurs fight to the end. Masters choose when the end happens. Think of it this way. A general who never retreats might win every battle and lose the war. A general who knows when to retreat can lose strategic battles to win the entire war. The difference lies in temporal perspective. The amateur sees the immediate move. The master sees the entire sequence to the final checkmate. The business world is littered with corpses of people who didn't know when to exit at their peak. Entrepreneurs who had everything in their hands and lost it because they wanted everything in their hands plus a little more. Greed isn't wanting more, it's not knowing when you already have enough to execute the next phase of the plan. Strategic withdrawal gives you something constant victory never will. Renewal. When you exit the scene at the right moment, you can return stronger, wiser, more lethal. It's like the phoenix, but calculated. The most successful people in history mastered the art of the strategic pause. They understood that power isn't about never losing, it's about choosing your losses to guarantee your wins. Master's test. Identify one area of your life where you're winning, but intuitively know you should stop or change strategy. Could be a job, a relationship, an investment. Now do what cowards won't. Plan your strategic exit, not to run away, but to return more powerful. Those with the courage to do this comment, I only leave at the top. Let's see how many actually have master's blood running through their veins. The final symphony of absolute power. You've made it this far because your mind is no longer ordinary. You understand that planning isn't paranoia, it's pure power. That prediction isn't anxiety, it's control. And that retreating isn't weakness, it's lethal intelligence. Now comes the moment to unite all of this into a single force that will transform you into the architect of your own reality. Get ready to discover how true masters operate when nobody's watching. Oprah Winfrey didn't just host a talk show, she built a consciousness empire. Every interview, every book recommendation, every spiritual message was part of a larger strategy to not just entertain people, but to fundamentally change how they thought about themselves and their possibilities. She didn't want to just have a successful show, she wanted to control how millions of people saw their own potential. And she succeeded. Decades later, we still measure authentic communication through the standards she created. That's Law 29, taken to the level of absolute genius. When you completely master Law 29, you transform into a force of nature. You no longer react to events, you orchestrate them. You no longer wait for opportunities, you manufacture them. You no longer have luck, you have systems. And systems, unlike luck, are replicable, scalable, and absolutely unstoppable. The final master of Law 29 operates in 3 simultaneous dimensions. First, he plans multiple parallel realities and has strategies for each one. Second, he uses time as a weapon, operating at different speeds depending on the situation, sometimes glacial, sometimes lightning fast. Third, he transforms his own mistakes into planned components, making even failure work in his favor. Think about how a virus operates. It has no muscles, no weapons, no apparent resources, but it has one thing: a perfect replication plan. It uses the host's own resources to multiply and spread. That's planning at the molecular level. That's Law 29, in its purest and most lethal form. When you truly master this law, you develop what we call time tunnel vision. You can see a clear line connecting where you are now with where you want to be in the future, and every action becomes a calculated step on that ladder. There are no more coincidences in your life, only planned consequences. But here's the secret that separates masters from the merely competent. You need to plan all the way to the end of your own transformation. It's not enough to apply Law 29 to your external projects. You need to apply it to the engineering of your own personality, your habits, your way of thinking. You need to become the first and most important work of art in your own master plan. The world is full of people who know what to do, but don't know how to become the type of person who does these things naturally. They get trapped in infinite cycles of motivation and procrastination. The master of Law 29 solves this once and for all. He plans all the way to the end of his own evolution. Absolute Master Ritual. For the next 21 days, you'll dedicate the first 10 minutes of each morning to what I call quantum planning. Take a blank sheet and write: 1. What needs to happen today for my long-term plan to advance? 2. What obstacles might appear and how I'll transform them into opportunities? 3. How I'll use any failure from the day to fuel my next move. Do this religiously for 21 days, and you'll feel your brain rewiring to operate like a true master's. Those willing to commit to this transformation comment 21 days of power, but only comment if you're actually going to do it. Masters don't lie, not even to themselves. If this journey awakens something in you, you know what to do. Hit like so more people can discover these secrets. Subscribe, because we have much more power to unlock together. And share with someone you know has master potential, but hasn't awakened yet. The world needs more reality architects and fewer people who just react to it. Until the next revelation.